Having worked with multiple 8-figure brands to build their retention marketing programs at my agency, and having analyzed multiple of the biggest brands in the world to see how they approach retention marketing, in this video, I'm going to break down 4 different ways that the biggest e-commerce brands in the world think about email marketing and retention marketing, and how you can apply that within your own business as well. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Jordan Hayes. I've been running a marketing agency since 2020. We help e-commerce brands increase their revenue, increase their lifetime value, and their returning customer rate through retention marketing. If that's something you're interested in for your brand, then below this video in the description, there's a link to a website. You can book a call with me. We can chat about your business and understand if there's a fit for us to work together. All right. So let's get into it. The first one is that the biggest brands in the world, they map their customer journey very specifically, right? They map it out as to like what entry point the customer takes, multiple entry points, and how they end up purchasing different products, and then what happens after that, and how they end up purchasing products after that, and again and again and again. And what they do with that map, that journey, is they transfer that into a retention marketing strategy, because once they know the journey that the customers take historically with all the data, plus adding in what they want to change in terms of the way that they want customers to go through that journey to basically increase their lifetime value and increase their returning customer rate, it then becomes much easier to understand how you should approach these platforms like email and SMS and direct mail, and even calling customers to get them to come back and purchase again. And this is very different as to what most e-commerce brands do, where they just blindly go into Klaviyo and start building out flows and think that the customer is going to go through that journey. They think that the customer is going to take these specific actions. But actually, when you use historical data to understand, for example, someone buys product X first, which product are they most likely to buy next based on data? And then after they buy that product, what are they buying next, right? Or maybe they buy the product X and they just come back and buy that product again and again and again, and they don't buy any other products. So you can start to see the trends in how your customers behave, but you can also start to identify opportunities to increase lifetime value. So that's the whole premise here, is that you start with that map and then you translate that into email flows, SMS flows, direct mail campaigns, calling customers at the right time, right? It's all about understanding the journey, but it's also all about the timing as well. Okay, so that's the first point. The second point is that they set very clear lifetime value targets and also assign very specific timeframes to them, because most e-commerce brands I speak to, they don't know what their lifetime value is, right? Which is a problem. So the first thing is to understand what that is. You can use an app like Lifetimely, which is a Shopify app if you're on Shopify, to calculate your lifetime value. Now, once you have that, you want to understand what your lifetime value is at different timeframes. The reason why you want to assign timeframes is because your lifetime value, it's great until you realize it, right? Like, you need to understand when you actually realize that value as a business. So for example, a 30-day lifetime value means what is the lifetime value of customers over a 30-day period after they purchase your product, okay, after they made that first purchase. If you have a 90-day lifetime value, it's the same, but it's a 90-day period. So the most common timeframes are 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, and 365 days of lifetime value, right? You have different metrics for each one of those timeframes. Now, the metrics that you should actually optimize for within your business depends on your product buying cycle, right? If you sell a product that renews every 30 days as a consumable and customers buy every 30 days, then a 30-day or 60-day lifetime value is probably a good number. And then you can use that number to help inform how much you should be spending to acquire new customers, right? Your LTV to CAC ratio. But then you're also going to want one that's a little bit more long-term, right? 180 days, 365 days as well. Now, let's just say you sell products that the perks, like the repeat purchase cycle is a lot slower due to the nature of the product, right? You're maybe selling something a little more high ticket. Then you want to be looking at more like 180 days, even 365 days as to when customers will come back and purchase from you again. So the biggest e-commerce brands in the world, they don't just set these very clear targets, but they then, once they have those targets, they reverse engineer the retention marketing strategy to hit those targets. So in order to make sure you hit these targets, you want to make sure that, of course, your customer journey map that we just spoke about in the first point is built and engineered in a way to hit these targets as well. Okay. Then when you start to translate that into email marketing flows and timing and sending campaigns and how many campaigns you're sending to each segment and the direct mail that you're sending out, et cetera, this can start to come together. And then you can start to realize how you're going to achieve those lifetime value targets, right? And if you don't achieve those targets, then you can start to pivot and make changes to your strategy. Okay. So that is the second point. The third point of how the biggest e-commerce brands in the world think about email and retention marketing is they look at the big picture of lifecycle marketing rather than just looking at like, how can we optimize and get more revenue from Klaviyo? Of course, they're looking at that as well. But it's more about the big picture, right? It's more about if we're going to build a business that's going to be around for 10 years, 20 years, or if we're going to build a business that we want to sell in 5 years, 10 years, we need strong retention marketing. We need strong lifetime value numbers. And if you only focus on these siloed areas, if you only focus on how do we get better campaigns in Klaviyo, how do we increase our open rate, how do we increase the revenue that we're driving from SMS, like that stuff is important. Don't get me wrong. We do that for our clients, but we also look at the big picture, because the biggest brands in the world, they're looking at what is the behavior and the consumer psychology of a customer that's coming into our ecosystem, right? And once we understand that, now we can look at the big picture as to what are the decisions this customer is making on a daily basis. And this ties in with the first 2 points, but hopefully it shows you that you need to kind of zoom out and look at that big picture and have other retention marketing efforts alongside email and SMS, right? I touched on direct mail. I've touched on phoning customers, right? A lot of these big brands, they have teams of salespeople that phone the customers to ask about their experience, understand if they like the product, what their pain points are, what their challenges are, and introduce them to other products that the customer may not have, even thought about purchasing in the first place, okay? So you have those, you have physical product inserts as well. So every time you send out a product to a customer is an opportunity for you to get them to come back and repeat purchase from you again, or to get more buy-in to the brand, okay? Brand is another pillar of this, and building brand helps with customer loyalty and retention. So introducing physical product inserts, introducing them to different products, introducing them to special offers, that they can then purchase other products and maybe repeat purchase your own product, opt into the subscription program, whatever it is, then physical product inserts are a great way to do that, okay? Another one is community and events, right? Like building a community around your brand, whether that's on social media, whether that's on a community platform, and then also hosting events. There's companies out there like Black Rifle Coffee, Liquid Death, On Running as well, or Outdoor Voices, like one of those athletic companies. They host these events for their customers, right? To meet up and run together, to meet up and talk about whatever, right? But what it's doing is it's deepening the connection that the customers have with your brand, therefore increasing customer loyalty, okay? So it's not always about sending out flows and sending out direct mail. It's also about building community, building a brand that customers want to be a part of, so that they never go and shop with other competitors. They just always think about you. They love the product, and they come back and purchase from you again. They try different products. When you launch a new product, they're the first to buy it. You want those types of customers, and that is built over time with brand as well. And this goes back into looking at the big picture and looking at how do we actually get customers to be loyal to the brand and to the products, okay? The fourth and final point that I want to mention is that the biggest e-commerce brands in the world, they invest in deliverability, right? Now, this is specific to email marketing, but when it comes to email marketing, if your deliverability is poor, meaning your emails are going to the spam folder, they go into the promotions folder, they're bouncing, they're not even being delivered to your recipients, then you are at a disadvantage, right? It doesn't matter how good your email marketing strategy is, your campaigns, your flow, it doesn't matter how good they are, if they're not going to actually get to the recipient, right? And if they go to spam, forget it. The recipient is not going to read those emails. If they go to promotions folder, there's a likelihood that the recipient is going to read them, but you're in a sea of other promotional emails. What you want to do is you want to get to the inbox. And that's going to put you in a much stronger position to get higher open rates and therefore higher click rates, and of course, more revenue driven from your emails as well, okay? So you can see how it has a ripple effect. Now, most e-commerce brands ignore deliverability. And the difference between the ones that are doing 9 figures and beyond is that those ones invest in deliverability. They see that deliverability is a way, as if they invest in deliverability, they're going to get better results. So there's multiple ways you can increase deliverability, but what it comes down to is being a trusted, authenticated sender with a good reputation that platforms and email recipients like Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, they trust you and they want to deliver your emails to the inbox because, they see your emails as safe and of value to the user and relevant to the user as well. So some ways you can do this real quick. First of all, you want to understand where your deliverability is at. You want to get a benchmark. So you can look inside Klaviyo. They have a deliverability section. You can run some tests on Glock apps. You can also look at your DNS records. Make sure you have DKIM, SPF, and DMARC records set up. Then you can look into actually how you can improve it, how you can actually raise that baseline. So you want to have email warm up in the background. You also want to run a test on Glock apps, which is a more enhanced deliverability testing tool, and that's going to allow you to see which block lists you're on. So you want to try and get off block lists. You want to increase your reputation as a sender. Other things, just make sure you're using a dedicated sending domain to send emails. And then of course, if you're doing 8 figures and beyond, I'd recommend looking into VMC, a verified mark certificate, and BIMI, BIMI, and that's going to help you enhance your deliverability even further. Okay. So those are the 4 ways that these biggest brands, these biggest e-com brands in the world think about retention and lifecycle marketing. And hopefully this gives you some insight into how you can improve your own strategy for retention marketing and thinking more bigger picture and not so much siloed into email, siloed into SMS. Those are important, but they're only parts of a wider strategy to retain customers and build a brand that's going to be sustainable for years to come. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, my agency, we do done-for-you email and SMS marketing, but also retention marketing. We think about LTV. We help you navigate those waters and really build a business that has strong LTV metrics built into it. If that's something you're interested in, then there's a link below this video to our website. You can check us out. You can book a call. You'll speak directly with me. We'll talk about your business. We'll understand your current situation and the challenges and the objectives that you have and see if it's a good fit for us to work together. We only work with a handful of brands, so we turn away more clients that we bring on. We're very picky with who we work with, but we know that the brands that we can actually crush it for. So if that's what you're interested in, as I mentioned, link below, and I'll see you in the next video.